Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today. We're just getting started, so we'll give it a couple minutes for people to start joining. Hello to everyone today from Austin, Texas. That's where I'm based.
I'm joining you from Auburn, Alabama.
Hello from the South.
That's right.
All right. We've still got some people rolling in, but I'll go ahead and get us started. Welcome to our session today. I'm Gianna Cosma, Product Marketing Manager here at Lightspeed. We're excited to have you for our last session of our Lightspeed Learning Lab series. Our discussion today is really going to center around Lightspeed Digital Insight and how to utilize and set up this tool to really help you get the most out of your Edtech apps and your Edtech ecosystem this year. So again, happy to have you here. The Learning Lab is actually a 5-part series, and we're happy to close it out today here with you. Many of you have attended one or more of our previous sessions, so welcome back. You may be a bit familiar with this part, but just a quick overview of the series. These webinars are meant to share best practices on how to utilize our products and get the most out of them. Our goal is to help you be as informed as possible for the school year ahead and to just help you maximize your partnership with us. All sessions are recorded and you'll receive a link to each one, including today's with resources. That'll become available by tomorrow, the 11th. If you have any questions throughout the session, make sure to type them into the chat box. We'll make sure to answer those during our Q&A portion. So with that, I wanted to open with a quick overview of Lightspeed and our mission. Many of you know we've been building K-12 products for over 20 years, supporting districts across the US and internationally. Our commitment is helping you support your students and staff through many of the pressing challenges you may be facing today, from student safety and wellness to cyber threats and more. We work with schools and districts of all sizes, really, from large districts like Los Angeles and the Kentucky Department of Education to much smaller districts and schools. So with that, we'd actually love to hear from you on what's top of mind this year at your district. You're going to see a poll pop up asking you what your biggest challenge is this school year. Again, probably looks familiar if you've attended before, but appreciate your feedback still. And the answer choices are student safety and mental health, cost and license management, AI app use and policy making, data privacy and security, and addressing the digital divide in education in reference to the homework gap and digital equity. So I see several responses coming in. Give that a second for everyone to submit their poll answer. And it looks like we're actually leading with AI app use and policy making, and pretty tied across a couple others, from data privacy and security to cost and license management as well, which is really great because we're going to be discussing several of these topics in today's session. So thanks everyone for your feedback. Looks like we ended up leading with AI app use and policy making. So there'll be a nod to that at the end of our session. So make sure to stick around to hear more about that. All right. So we're excited to have lots of new features coming this fall. These include new AI detection and AI management tools, a new digital equity tool that is going to help you pinpoint those internet connectivity gaps for students when they're off campus. We're also working with many student safety teams to make our Lightspeed Alert product an even better resource for supporting safety and wellness in schools. So there's a lot to come. Stay tuned. Jumping into today's session, our focus for today will be how to access relevant reports to just really quickly gauge app usage, professional development needs, and be able to share those insights across teams. We'll also walk through how to manage licenses and track funding sources to support your budgeting decisions and cost savings, especially in this time with declines in education funding. We know that's a really big interest. And how to manage app reviews and approvals and make that a really easy and simple collaborative process, and also create a public-facing approved apps list so you can keep all your stakeholders informed. We're also going to run through a back-to-school checklist to make sure your roster and agents are up to date, talk through some getting started resources that'll be emailed out after the session. And we're going to review what's coming next for Digital Insight before closing out with Q&A. All right, so many of you already know and love Lightspeed Digital Insight, but for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Digital Insight is our analytics tool, and it's really used to drive your end-to-end ecosystem management, from granular usage reports to privacy policy scanning and license management, app review and approval, those things we talked about earlier. Digital Insight really ensures the value and ROI, security, and the effectiveness of your ecosystem. So from here, I'm excited to transition it over to my colleague, Craig McClellan, Senior Product Specialist on the Lightspeed team. He's one of our resident experts on digital insight and a former educator, and will be walking us through a lot of these features today for back to school. So with that, I'll pass it over to Craig.
Thanks so much, Gianna. So, I'm actually going to start here with data. Ultimately, that's what this platform is all about. And so while there are some more foundational things of, again, with this back to school season, setting up, making sure that you are setting an updated roster and agents and things like that, and a few little setup pieces that I think will add a lot of value. Ultimately, the whole goal of Digital Insight is being able to see application usage. And so I want you to walk away today with, some places that you can look as you start the school to make sure that you are effectively using tools right out of the gate, and be able to make some pivots if you're not. So what we're going to look at first with this data portion is we're going to look at trending applications. We're going to dive into our application profiles, and then we'll dive into users reporting to look at that. So I'm just going to switch over to Digital Insight. And most of you, if you're familiar with Digital Insight, you've logged in here before, but if you haven't, this is our main dashboard page. And I'm just going to jump over to trending applications. It's this yellowish orange tile over here, and let that load. This is the list of every application that we've detected usage of in your district. And it defaults to the last 7 days, but with our time interval selector, you can go back basically as long as you've had our agents deployed. And what you're going to see is immediately a list of everything that's in use, and it's listed in order of most unique users down to least. And so you can quickly, in one pane of glass, be able to see how are we doing. So maybe you've rolled out a new curriculum tool this year and you want to see that in your top applications and most used. Maybe there are certain testing services that you guys use to do your formative assessments at the beginning of the school year. You want to see those on here. Lots of things that districts want to see immediately, and quickly be able to compare and identify maybe potential rogue applications that you didn't know were in use that are competing with the ones that are supposed to be used. Now, one thing before I dive a little deeper into the next layer of data that I want to point out is our download icon. This is all over the platform. Basically, anywhere that you see data, you're going to be able to download it to a CSV, to Google Sheets. And if you're looking at one of the really pretty graphs that we have, you'll actually be able to export that as an image or PDF as well. And so that really helps collaborate, some of our districts have dozens of people inside a digital insight, some of them don't. And so if you want to share this data and be able to collaborate, that's really the great thing about digital insight is you'll kind of see throughout the presentation today, this can be essentially a one-stop shop to manage everything you need for application usage, licenses, approvals, all in one place. You can collaborate. But on the off chance you've got, we all know superintendents aren't signing into software a whole lot, but maybe they want to see some of this usage data. There are quickly some ways to quickly get that out and exported for them so you can work together on that. And again, so you'll see this as we dive into the next layer and even finally into our users reporting areas. So look for this download icon anywhere in the platform. Now I'm going to look at, an LMS, really important tool to be using all throughout the school year. So that's a good one to jump into. This demo district uses Schoology, and I'm going to jump right in. On this page, we're going a layer deeper. The previous page was full district, every application. But here's where it starts to get interesting because you're going to see breakdowns by campus and where this is being used, either a lot or a little. And you can look at it by grade level. So if you're looking for specific things like how well are my fifth graders using this across the district, what's the adoption looking like, you can quickly jump in here and see that. And then here is, I've got a little trick I like for people to see. So usage trends is one of my favorite pieces here because ultimately, like I'm a data guy, that's why I work here with Digital Insight, but usage information on how many unique users, engagements, how long it was the active window, this is helpful, but being able to see that on when that happened as well is really helpful. So if usage is really strong the first week of school and falls off, that's a problem, but also probably the first week of school, you're going to be ramping up. So you want to be able to look for those trends as well. And that's where the usage trends area is where that lives. So I'm going to extend this back 30 days just to get a little bit more data. Now, this is all provided by computers, so you will not see with real students this flat a line. And I just want to point this out. We can edit metrics. We're using our engagement metric, which if you ever have questions about what our metrics mean, the product specialist team that I work with, we've put together a really great series of videos that's available. And one of those videos is about a 2-minute video on what do these metrics mean again? And so you can quickly reference that back as well. So I like to put unique users and engagements together and be able to see if there are any trends there. And you can see this is laid out, again, pretty flat because this is not real data. We don't want to use a real school district's data in our demo district. But I think it illustrates being able to look for those up and downs and see if there are any issues. And then the last piece. So if you notice that usage is really high at one campus or really low at another, you might want to dive in and find out who those users are because you need to make a pivot, especially at those campuses that aren't using the data or the application very well. So having, champion teachers, things like that can be really, really important to providing that PD. So you can jump in, and in any of these campus names is a link into our users reporting. I'm going to click on my high school, and I'll immediately get a list of every user in the district using that tool, at that campus. And I can also, if I'd like to, if I've deployed the agent to teachers, which in this demo district, not many teachers with data, but I can select teachers as a grade level and be able to see who those champion teachers are. Also, if you provided professional development on a tool over the summer, you want to see if that was effective. And so you can look and see, did the teachers that came to my PD start using the tool more? I think that's a really powerful one. So definitely want to highlight this users reporting list as a way of understanding how these applications are being used. So really quickly, I'm just going to recap because I know I could talk about what I just went through for about an hour, and I'm doing it in about 5 minutes. So I do want to at least recap it for you. Trending applications, every application across the district, and quickly be able to compare because we have the same metrics on every application, and then dive into each application profile to get more granular information about that tool. including campus, grade level, and usage trend breakdowns. And then when you need to go even more granular, go to the users reporting area and see who those individual users are. So before I move on to kind of the next topic, Gianna, is there anything that either I missed or that you want to mention?
No, I think you covered it. Thanks, Craig.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to move back over to our PowerPoint here. So next is license management. You probably in your district just renewed a bunch of licenses for the school year for software. Maybe you purchased some new tools. And one thing that we hear pretty consistently across our client base is no one is keeping up with these purchases. Some are purchased at individual campuses. Some are purchased at the district level. There's not really a place that we can collaborate and even just see what's being purchased, see what has renewals coming up. I always tell the story of when I was a second grade teacher and I planned my lesson, for the week out at the beginning of the week. And then, and I'd planned to use with my second graders a brain pop video to get things kicked off. And then by Thursday, when I was actually giving that lesson, brain pop had expired. And no one was paying attention at the school or district level to this renewal that we had coming up. And suddenly I, as a teacher, had to pivot and go, okay, kids, we're going to do something else because no one was keeping up with that. And so this is a central place where we can get license data in and then look at it and then gauge the usage based on that license. So I really want to highlight this at back to school time because you've probably just done a bunch of purchasing. And so take those POs and that data and let's get it into the platform. So we're going to look at where to do that quickly and then some of what that gets you. Okay. So the main place that I like to highlight this is our license management area. And this is up at the top here. And you can see here's a list of applications that this district has purchased, and even that some of these are expiring here pretty soon. So school's already started, but we've got a few that are off our fiscal year. And so I need to be paying attention to those. Our scheduled reports will notify you of any licenses you have coming up for renewal in the next 30 days. And so you can see all this together and sort it by the expiration date. And one of my other favorite features of this is the ability when you enter a license to add funding and programmatic function tags. So this is one that I entered that was purchased with Title I funds, but also, if something was purchased with ESSER dollars, and we know those dollars have kind of gone away. And so you need to understand how that's being used to decide if it's worth renewing or not. And then also, what did we purchase this for? So we purchased this for our English language arts, for our English language learners, and for intervention. And then, and before I jump into the data side of this, it's super quick to add a license. There's add license in bulk, and you can basically just say, the application, the unit type, the campus, or, if it was purchased for the whole district or a group of campuses. And then you could have those tags, your start and end date, and then just quickly move on. And we've got a video about that as well in our video library. So really recommend that as well. And then you can jump in and look at the usage, and that's in licensed applications. Now, this will default to 6 months instead of the last week like trending apps. So that's great when you're in budget season. But I also really want to highlight our license usage and cost page. So in this district, we purchased 950 licenses. We've only used 367 of them. So what does that do to our total cost and our cost per user if only 367 of our licenses are being used out of 950? So this is really valuable between just, cutting things that are not being used well. So even discovering that certain campuses had gone out and purchased applications we've had that weren't even known about, and then moving that to a full district license, things like that. We've had clients save significant amounts of their application budget. One client, after their first year, saved about 17% of their application budget, which was $1 million for this district, just in their first year of using this tool by coming in here and analyzing this. So it's really powerful to be able to have the space to have this data all together and then be able to analyze the usage alongside that license data. Gianna, is there anything on that we need to touch on before we move on?
I think, Craig, if we could really quickly tie to the cost savings piece, if we could speak a little bit to the tracking funding sources to also just have a holistic view of cost.
Thank you. So those, it's a little hidden here, but we have that funding tag filter right here. So I can go in here and select what are the applications that are Title I funded. And then being able to see those grouped together quickly and get that usage data. And again, these, especially like Title I funds, things like this, you guys are required to report on that spending and how that's being used. And so really recommend using this as a central place to do that, because ultimately when you start to see, okay, this application is not used well enough, or maybe there's even a potential free option that teachers have gotten to and are using and they like better. And when you pair that with the trending applications data, then you have you basically have the data to manage change as you need to. We've had clients say they use this for change management, and ultimately that can end up being significant savings in terms of application budget spent, and by again cutting things and just having data to make different decisions. All right, and then the last area that I'm going to cover is app review and approval. And again, collaboration is kind of the name of the game that we're speaking to. So many states are passing student data privacy legislation where you guys as districts are going to have to publish application lists. But even in states, I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, I'm in Auburn, Alabama. In Alabama, we don't have any laws around that at the moment. But it's helpful to have a central place where you're discussing and sharing with not only internal at central office, but with your teachers and students and even parents what applications are approved for use. The school district I taught in, they now have a list like this, but they didn't when I was teaching. And I didn't always even know what applications I had access to, much less ones that I shouldn't be using, things like that. And so just having a place to set expectations and have clear communication is really, really powerful. So we're going to look at the collaboration piece and quickly identify unapproved apps. And then I'll show you how to create that approved apps list, which is a great thing to do here at the beginning of the school year. Again, to show to your teachers, say, hey, this is what we want you guys using. So I like to do a lot of this from trending applications. Again, you'll hear a theme. I love this page. It's probably my favorite in all of Digital Insight. And you can see already this district, we have a lot of things licensed and a lot of things approved. So I know as I'm scanning my most used apps, a lot of them are my license tools and approved. And that in and of itself is super helpful. Just being able to say, how are we doing here? But then we need to also start vetting different tools. So if I notice something like Common Lit here is not approved in my district, I need to understand what this is so I can jump into the application. We've got data for you around subject matter. We've got partnerships with third-party student data privacy rating systems like Edtech, and partners with Student Data Privacy Consortium to pull your agreements in. And then I can start to say, is this a valid tool both from an educational perspective, so for curriculum folks, and from a student data privacy perspective for technology folks? And so let's say I want to collaborate on that. I'm going to go ahead and mark this as in review. And let's say that from a curriculum perspective, I'm okay with people using this. I can say curriculum approved, need student data privacy approval. And then all of this lives in our approval management page. So I can see our in review applications and move them to approved. I can see not approved. And then I can see that full list of everything that is approved for use. And again, if somebody wants to purchase something, you can immediately jump in and say, all right, is that approved? Because you've all got that in one place. And then this page is internal to Digital Insight only, but it also can quickly be published with our public list settings. So you can switch things from not public to public and add whatever information you want. And then when you're done and you hit save, Digital Insights built you a website that you can link to from your district technology page. And it looks like this. So that is kind of the quick. I know I'm talking long because I get excited about this when I'm on a webinar. So I want to make sure that we hit the other things, but that is kind of our approval management workflow. And again, our team has lots of videos on the more granular details of how to manage this. They're super easy to access from the Lightspeed customer portal.
Absolutely. Thanks, Craig, for that overview. So that concludes our demo portion of the webinar. We do have a back to school checklist for you to help make that back to school process a little bit easier. So a couple of quick tips. Number one, make sure that your roster is up to date. And second, that agents have been deployed successfully. If you refreshed devices, over the summer, and in particular, make sure to those new devices have the agents deployed. And then third, update your licensed and approved apps. This should be easy peasy after our walkthrough with Craig, but if you do need additional support, we have some great resources for you, which I'll walk through in a sec. But before that, you're going to see a second poll pop up. And we'd love to hear which topic was most relevant from today's discussion, whether it's viewing trending apps and usage data, having the information to identify professional development needs, understanding license management, or tracking budget spend. Got a couple answers trickling in. Looks like we had some interest in trending apps and usage data, and leading with that. That's certainly one of our most loved features of Digital Insight, for good reason. And then leading second to that, license management. Great. Well, thank you for that feedback. Moving into our next slide, here's a list of those resources mentioned, including the Back to School Success checklist, all of which will be shared out after the session today. And following that, we also wanted to give you a quick look into what's coming next for Digital Insight. Many of you are super eager for expanded admin roles, including school level roles, to have even more control and collaboration within your district. So we're looking forward to offering you that new capability here in the future. So be sure to keep an eye out. And as we close out, here is a quick review of the Learning Lab calendar of sessions. As mentioned, you'll receive recordings to all of these sessions. One that I'd like to highlight in particular is our AI management session from earlier this week. More on that in the next slide. We know with AI tools like ChatGPT becoming increasingly popular, districts can struggle to keep up with how they're being utilized. So in this session, we dove into new Lightspeed tools and including tools for Digital Insight and how those AI management tools can help you monitor and really have more control over AI usage, help you ensure data privacy when using these tools, etc. So make sure to check out that session. And with that, let's move on to our Q&A. I think we could take 1 to 2 questions with the time that we have left today. Let's see, we've had a couple questions come through.
I like this question because it's my team that does a lot of this. So again, we've highlighted, and just because I'm not for the recordings and things, it says what training and support options are available. So again, we have our help portal, the customer portal that has a complete video suite, but we also offer, if you're new to Digital Insight Client, you get one kind of data review and walk through the platform as part of your purchase. And then we can also do more focused professional development that you can purchase, and you can speak to your client success manager about that. And then we also have a strategic data review. We know this data is really valuable, but a lot of times you guys are busy running school districts. And so we have a team, myself included, that help analyze your data with you and bring some pun intended insights out of it for you, just to help lighten the load, because we know that running a school district takes a lot of work, and you need some assistance with that sometimes. So you can speak to any of those professional services. You can speak to your client success manager, reach out to them, and they can help you set those up.
All right. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. We did have a couple of questions that we'll make sure to follow up on after the session. At the bottom of your screen, we've put in a survey. Please take a moment to fill it out. Just click the provide feedback, and we'd appreciate your response. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. We hope you took away some helpful tips for getting Digital Insight set up for the year. If you're interested in discussing our professional development and training services, we'll have a link to those in the resources that will be sent out over email. And also please reach out to your customer success manager. Thanks again for joining us today. Bye, everyone.